Okay, I always ask you to pay attention to what I'm wearing and look for any symbology or messages you can get from that. So, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth and tell you right ahead of time that I'm going to do a lot of blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's easy, and the color is blue. Okay, I want to talk to you about the Course in Miracles. Because there's one thing that you really need to understand about the Course in Miracles when it comes to talking about the ego being in opposition to, let's go with God, okay? A unified God. The idea that the ego made a bad decision and, well, the way they put it was, there's perfect divinity, and then in perfect divinity, somebody had a bad dream, and that's where we are now. And the whole thing that's going on now is your ego, which is a bad thing, doesn't want you to wake up from the nightmare. Now, this does calibrate at a fairly high consciousness level, according to Dr. David R. Hawkins, when he did these kind of things. However, it doesn't calibrate at 1,000, which is basically the highest truth you can hold while you're in a human body. Why? Well, because it doesn't make any sense. Why is it, if you're in perfect divinity, that perfect divinity would create a nightmare for you called a dream? It wouldn't. If you read the book and what they consider divinity, no, it doesn't make sense. Divinity would not create a nightmare for you. So I think that's the main reason why of Course in Miracles doesn't calibrate at 1,000 on the scale of human consciousness. What else? Well, in my own research with muscle testing, what I got was, if you take an ego, a negative ego especially, it is what's known as a personality on planet Earth. So if you can take a negative ego, so say something that is really dangerous, like Adolf Hitler. If you could take a negative entity like Adolf Hitler and bring him to heaven, we won't talk about how and what kind of changes would have to happen in that particular personality. But if you saw Jesus, and standing next to Jesus, because Jesus was there and he was performing Jesus miracles, and he knew everything, you just knew it was Jesus, okay? And Adolf Hitler was standing next to him. We would say to Jesus, is this the divine Adolf Hitler? In other words, the divine personality of Adolf Hitler. And if Jesus and you agreed it was, then that's what happens to egos. And this doesn't get talked about in the Course in Miracles. It basically says the end of the world, everyone laughs with joy and tears. So it doesn't really answer what happens when you go to a heavenly realm. No one knows if there's multiple heavens. I think there's most likely there are multiple heavens. So, in the end, I just want to get it out there that even a highly negative personality potentially could be changed to fit in with the ways of heaven. Now, this particular example with Hitler, I kind of crib sheeted it, because the same thing was done in one of the books, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. And in his book, he puts Adolf Hitler next to Pilate. Pilate, if you will remember, was one of the ones who signed Jesus' death warrant. And in the book, It starts off a sentence and it says, Jesus says, "Dear Pilate," something or other, and we're best friends. So I didn't invent this idea. It came from the writings of Bertie Spalding, and I don't know where he heard these ideas. But anyways, I just wanted to get you across that there could potentially be, he called him Pilate, but in my lecture I would say divine personality known as Pilate. The one from the Jesus story, okay? So anyway, that's the end of my talk, but if you want to consider divine personalities as the end result of egos who bend to the will of God, then you got the message. And if they haven't bent to the will of God and they're highly negative organisms, they need to get with the program and become divine versions of themselves. Who's going to do the work? Who is going to do the work to bring Pilate to heaven? Jesus or Pilate? I'm going to say God. God is going to do the work. Because for one person to take on the burdens of other individual humans or the whole collective, no, you're not built to do it. You're not built for a spiritual power over 1,000. There are beings listed in Dr. David R. Hawkins' book, which one I can't remember, but it's where he said that the powers of archangels, spiritual power is, I think it was like 50,000 and up. So, 50,000 Jesus might be the beginning of where you start being called archangel. You can put all the rest together. My lecture is long enough. That is my blah, blah, blah. And I am Bob Frizzell for The Reality Game. On Instagram, we're Burrows Bobby. On Facebook, we're Rio de Janeiro Warlocks. And on YouTube, we're Infinite Bob 199. Thank you very much.